Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to another League of Legends guide for Pre-Season 7. Today, we're going to cover Jungle Shaco.
How about a magic trick?
For more of my content, you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/egamingtv or on Twitter at egaming_TV. All of the links for my social medias and the timestamps for this guide will be down in the video description, so make sure you check that out. I do Riot Point giveaways at the end of every month on my Twitter, as well as a poll each night on which champion I should cover the next day. So, if you're interested in entering those Riot Point giveaways, or you want to vote on which champion guide should be next, make sure you head over to Twitter. But enough of that, let's move on to our pros and cons. Shaco's a jungler with very strong ganks, and he also makes for a pretty good counter jungler. He's a very solid split pusher as long as you get at least a Tiamat, and he is very mobile. Being a high damage assassin, he of course has a very high snowball potential and the potential for very fast wins. Shaco, however, will take quite a while to master. You have to get used to your stealth mechanic and you have to be very patient in team fights because if you just jump in and attack, you'll probably die. You have to look for flanking opportunities. Generally, you are a very squishy champion as well unless you do go for a tanky build, which is my favorite by the way. And as previously stated, you do have mediocre team fighting ability, your strength lies in your split pushing and of course your ganking. You're not the best team fighter out there, but you can still be successful. For my masteries, I like to go 12 ferocity and 18 cunning, grabbing Thunderlord's Decree as my keystone mastery. Now right now, Thunderlords is actually bugged on Shaco until 6.23 where they did say they will fix it. The problem is backstab isn't counting as an actual Thunderlord attack, so you do need to get a normal attack off as well to actually proc the Thunderlords. Now this isn't too big of an issue and I still feel like Thunderlords is the best on him even with this issue, but if you do not like it, then you could go for Storm Raider Surge or something else instead. For my runes, I like to go for attack damage reds, armor yellows, ability power blues, and attack speed quins. So these runes here are of course for one of those AD/AP hybrid builds that goes for a Hextech Gunblade. In my opinion, it is the most effective build there is on Shaco, but it's definitely not the only one that can carry. If you wanted to go for a full AD build, then you could change that ability power into magic resist of course, and if you did prefer a full AP build, then you could change that attack damage into magic penetration. For our summoners, we have a couple different options because flash isn't necessary. Being the jungler we are, first we of course have to take smite though. It'll allow us to sustain through the jungle, buy our jungler item, and secure dragons and barons. Ignite is then my favorite second summoner spell. Since we have Deceive, which is already a great built-in escape, flash is not required. Ignite will add a ton of kill pressure in your ganks and can really get you snowballing. Exhaust is also a great pick if you're against a high damage team since it will help you duel them and shut down their damage in the late game. Now although flash is not required, it's still a great pickup because it does increase your chase and escape potential. Take smite and then choose one of these three options. Now let's kick off those abilities, starting with our passive, backstab. Shaco's basic attacks critically strike for bonus critical damage when striking an enemy unit from behind. Backstab cannot happen on the same target more than once every few seconds, and that's between 3 and 1.65 seconds. So this is a pretty damn nice ability because it does add a lot of damage in ganks and the jungle. This ability of course means you're going to generally be wanting to attack from behind the target, which is usually not a problem on Shaco. This passive is part of the reason people take an Infinity Edge even if they are in an AP build. This will have a 100% critical strike chance from behind the target, obviously on a cooldown, and when you do have an Infinity Edge, it will make that damage even higher. Pretty damn solid. Now let's move on to our Q ability, Deceive. Shaco blinks after 0.125 seconds to the target location and becomes invisible for a few seconds. Shaco remains invisible while casting Hallucinate, and casting Jack in the Box will cause Shaco to shimmer, but will not reveal stealth. Shaco's next basic attack within 2.5 seconds deals bonus physical damage and reduces Deceive's cooldown by 2.5 seconds. Backstab of course causes Deceive to critically strike. So this of course is your main mobility tool as it is a blink and a stealth. As jungle Shaco we have to max this ability first as well since the invisibility duration does scale. It starts at 1.5 seconds which is not very long, but it does end at 4.5 which is a rather long stealth duration, pretty damn strong. So, use this ability to go into stealth, get by the enemy champion, drop your Jack in the Box, and then proceed to attack. So, now let's move on to your W, Jack in the Box. Shaco summons a box at the target location that stealths after 2 seconds, lasting up to 60 seconds. If an enemy springs the box, it opens and causes surrounding enemies to flee while it attacks nearby enemies for up to 5 seconds. Jack in the Box can be damaged by champion basic attacks for a third of the box's health and are instantly killed by turret shots. So this ability is nice early on in the jungle, as you can drop it and it will flee them, and also do a bunch of damage. Now generally as a jungler we will max this ability last, we only need one early point at level 1 to actually do the jungle. If you are however going for a full AP Shaco, then you could max this ability second, because it is only AP damage, it does not have an AD ratio. I do prefer maxing my E second and saving this ability for last myself, but that's just me. Either way, it is a pretty strong ability, and as long as we get one early point in it, we can drop it in ganks and flee our enemies for a stronger gank. Keep in mind, if you are an AP Shaco player, it is worth considering maxing second because the flee duration does scale with level. But now let's move on to our E ability, 2 Shiv Poison. For the passive, while 2 Shiv Poison is not on cooldown, Shaco's basic attacks slow enemy units for 2 seconds. When activated, Shaco throws a dagger at the target enemy, dealing magic damage and slowing them for 3 seconds, and this also does damage based on the target's missing health, which makes it a great execute. It also has a really good AD and AP ratio, making it a solid max in whatever build you're going for. The reason I like to max this ability second is because the slow does scale with level, and the execute is really strong as well. When you are ganking with this ability, you want to save it until you can execute, because if you do use it early on, your auto attacks will no longer slow the target, and that can cost you a kill. Alright, now Z Ultimate, Hallucinate. Shaco vanishes for 0.5 seconds, then creates a clone of himself that lives for up to 18 seconds. The clone explodes upon death, dealing magic damage and spawning 3 mini boxes that trigger simultaneously, dealing damage and forcing enemies to flee. These mini boxes share the same health. So this ultimate is really strong in an AD/AP or a full AP build because it does have a 100% AP ratio and can deal a lot of damage to a team. It is however really solid in an AD build as well because he does do your damage as well on the target, and that can be quite a bit. You can also pop this when you're going for dragons or towers, and it can really take him down quickly, making him a solid split pusher, and you can solo dragon rather easily as well. This also has the potential to be really strong in teamfights because not only does it do that burst of magic damage in an AoE radius, but all those mini boxes can fear an entire team, which is pretty damn strong. For our skill order, we first put a point into our ultimate whenever we can at 6, 11, and 16. Then we focus on maxing our Q because it does increase the stealth duration, which can make our ganks much more effective. In most builds, I'll then max my E second as it does do a lot of damage and the slow is pretty solid as well. Personally, I like to save my W for last no matter what build I'm going for, but maxing W second is solid if you are going for a full AP build and your boxes can actually do a ton of damage. Just make sure you take it at level 1, start dropping them at 40 seconds so you can destroy minion camps. For our combos, we really only have the one combo, and I'm just going to refer to it as the main combo. So first, you'll want to use Deceive to get into stealth and get near the enemy champion. Then quickly drop a Jack in the Box in the enemy escape route and quickly hit them with a backstab. Activate your Tiamat if you do have one. At this point, you'll want to hit the enemy with a couple auto attacks and then execute the enemy with your 2 Shiv Poison when they are in the kill threshold. Now you could also hallucinate at the start while still stealth and deceive, but I like to save it to dodge a skill shot. Ignite or Exhaust may be used as well in this combo if you can get a kill or you need to reduce the enemy's damage. The reason you drop the Jack in the Box behind the enemy, of course, is when they turn around to run away, they will go into the box and end up fleeing. I have 2 main routes I like to go on Shaco, and it's a normal start and an invade start. For my normal start, I start by doing either blue buff or red buff, then kill Gromp or Wolves, and then their blue or red buff, depending what's left. As Shaco, you can take whatever buff you want since you can just use your Jack in the Boxes, usually I do blue. Make sure you drop 3 boxes on blue buff starting at 41 seconds, and drop your 4th box by the Gromp. These 3 boxes with your auto attacks will easily take down blue, then you can go over to Gromp and kill him as well with a 2nd box when he does come off cooldown. Now for an invade start, you want to kill your blue buff, make sure you save smite, and then go kill the enemy's red buff. At this point, you can either wait for the jungler with your boxes to kill him, or take golems and then gank a lane. Shaco's a pretty solid counter jungler because he can clear camps fast as long as he gets an early Tiamat, he's very safe with his high mobility, and he's a decent duelist against most junglers. Try to place deep wards into the enemy jungle to keep track of them. Take camps whenever they're not near them, or sit in a brush with some Jack in the Boxes so when they walk through, you can delete them. You can leave a small minion so the camp won't respawn, but if you are planning on counter jungling over and over again, then make sure you clear them. Once you manage to solo the enemy jungler, think about taking a dragon. Shaco is a very strong ganker since he has good mobility, high damage, and you can go into a lane with stealth from your Deceive. This allows you to gank from behind, through river, or even by running down your own lane while you are stealthed. You'll then want to use your deceive to get behind the enemy, then quickly drop a Jack-in-the-Box right behind them. This is so when they turn around to run away from you, it will flee them. After you've dropped your box, quickly backstab them and activate your Tiamat if you do have one. At this point, you can auto-attack a few times until they're low enough for you to execute them with your 2-shiv poison. As Shaco, you are a champion that can snowball and take control of the game, so it is worth taking kills. You're not one of those champions that have to pass off kills onto your lane. Of course, this is still a viable option. Shaco's strength lies in ganking and split pushing, but he can still make an okay team fighter if played properly. Like most assassins, you'll have to wait for your opportunity to flank a squishy target and delete them. Let both teams engage and try to use your deceive to get in behind the enemy team, then drop a Jack-in-the-Box and proceed to blow up your target. Keep an eye on the enemy team, and if somebody tries to hit you with a crowd control, make sure you cast Hallucinate to dodge it. But of course, this can be rather hard to pull off depending on the crowd control used. I've used it before to stop stuff like Cassiopeia's ult, and after I do pop out, I can easily dispose of her. Now we're going to look at some viable item builds. In all cases, we're going to want to start with a Hunter's Machete, Refillable Potion, and a Warding Totem. Now if you do plan on getting a Ravenous Hydra or a Titanic Hydra at some point in the game, I would rush a Tiamat so you have some sort of AoE clear, and you can actually clear minion waves. It'll really help you farm, and it's definitely worth buying. At this point, you'll want to get your jungler item, and honestly, all 4 work fine. I prefer skirmishers myself since we already have a slow and a flee, but you can get a stalkers as well if you did prefer, for that slowing smite. Now the runic echoes and the warrior enchantment are definitely the best of the 4 options. If you're going for a hybrid or a full AP build, get the runic echoes, and if you are going for an AD or a bruiser build, get the warrior enchantment. Bloodrazor and Cinderhulk can work fine in your builds as well, but I'm not too big of a fan of them. Now on Shaco, the majority of boots also work pretty well. If you're on a full AP or even a hybrid build, you could get those Sork shoes. If you want to have more damage, then go for the Berserkers. If you want to have magic resist or get out of CCs faster, the Merc Treads. Against high AD teams, you could get the Ninja Tabbies, and if you are needing to gank a lot more often, Boots of Mobility will help you accomplish that. Now instead of showing an item pool like usual, which honestly on Shaco will contain every single item in the game almost, I'm going to show you a couple solid builds. So first up here is our full AD and split pusher build, which starts with a warrior enchantment and static shiv. We then get our choice of boots, and then a Duskblade, Ravenous Hydra, and Infinity Edge. We'll have a ridiculous amount of split push with a static shiv and Ravenous Hydra, and if somebody leaves us alone in a lane, we can take a base with our Hallucinate really quickly. We then have extremely high assassination potential when we add our warrior enchantment, Duskblade, and Infinity Edge in there. We'll do an absolute ton of damage, and those backstabs will hit even harder since we did pick up an IE. Now next up would be a hybrid build, and honestly, I think hybrid builds are the best on Shaco right now, but honestly, they're all really solid. So we start by going Runic Echoes, Sork Shoes, Hextech Gunblade, and Lichbane. This will already give us an absolute ton of damage, and we'll be able to 100 to 0 people rather easily, and our dueling will be also really solid since we do have the Gunblade active. We then get a Rabadon's Death Cap to make our AP absolutely ridiculous and finish it off with an IE to make those backstabs really hurt. For our Bruiser build, we take the Warrior Enchantment again, but then go for a Trinity Force. We take whatever boots we want and then go for a Maw, Deadman's Plate, and a Titanic Hydra. We will still deal a lot of damage with this build, but we will be a lot tankier since we do have a health pool from Titanic Hydra and Deadman's Plate, and also some decent armor and magic resist. Now for a new Shaco player, I would definitely recommend a Bruiser build, because it's a lot more forgiving if you jump into a bad situation. All of them are extremely solid builds, and you can pretty much substitute whatever item you want into them, and it's still going to be really solid. But that, ladies and gentlemen, covers everything I've got for pre-Season 7 Jungle Shaco. Don't forget to check out the video description below for my social media links if you are looking for more of my content. But other than that, thank you guys a ton for watching the video, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's Champion Guide. Peace!